People have misconception that charging different prices to different people is unfair and harmful. So the questions for the day then, first, is it really harmful? And second, is price discrimination legal in the US? Well, have you ever wondered why out-of-state students pay more than in-state students for the same education at many public universities? Maybe a simple question could be more like, has anyone ever received a student discount? Those kind of things. And these are examples of legal price discrimination. Here are two big questions. What is price discrimination and how is it practiced? So the goal for this part of the module is to look at the conditions necessary for price discrimination to exist. We know that in-state and out-of-state tuition prices are different, right? And another good example is the airfare. On a flight with, let's say, 100 passengers, there may have been 100 different prices paid for the same flight. So there is no difference in service, there's no difference in the education students get, and all passengers on the flight still arrive at their destination. If we all get the same service, education, flight, why do we get charged different prices? Price discrimination occurs when a firm sells the same good at different prices to different groups of customers. The difference in price is not related to differences in cost. Although price discrimination sounds like something illegal, in fact, it is beneficial to both sellers and buyers. When a firm can charge more than one price, markets work more efficiently. Since price discriminating firms typically charge a low and a high price, some consumers are able to buy the product at a low price. And of course, firms are not in business to provide goods at low prices. They want to make a profit. So price discrimination enables them to make more money by dividing their customers into at least two groups, those who get a discount and others who pay more. So, to practice a price discrimination, a firm must be a price maker. It must have some market power before it can charge more than one price. Here are 4 questions to ask yourself before we get to the next slide. The first question, when have you paid a price for a good or service but someone in your party paid a different price for the exact same thing? The second question, will your flight be more expensive if you book it 3 months ahead of time or 1 week ahead of time? Question number 3, when is it cheaper to see a movie? Is that Saturday night or Tuesday afternoon? And the last question, what types of consumers usually get discounts? Here are some more examples of price discrimination. Besides a college tuition and airline ticket, you can look at a movie theater, movie ticket, the intertemporal price discrimination, weekday afternoon instead of Saturday night, selected discounts for particular groups like students, senior citizens, military, employees, and things like that. Now let's take a look at the conditions of price discrimination. Realize that not any firm can price discriminate, okay? So again, firm must have market power before it can charge more than one price. So a downward sloping demand curve is indicative of market power. So for price discrimination to take place, 2 conditions must be met. First, the firm must be able to distinguish groups of buyers with different price elasticities of demand. And second, the firm must be able to prevent resale of the product or service. Now let's look at each in turn. In order to price discriminate, the firm must be able to distinguish groups of buyers with different price elasticities of demand. Firms can generate additional revenues by charging more to customers with inelastic demand and charging less to customers with elastic demand. For instance, many restaurants offer lower prices known as early bird specials to people who have dinner early. Who are these customers? Well, many, such as retirees and families with children, are on a limited budget, right? So these early diners not only have less demand, but also representing a demand that is more elastic. So they eat out only if the price is low enough. Early bird specials work for restaurants by separating customers into two groups, and customers will self-select into each of these groups. One that is price sensitive and another that is willing to pay full price. This strategy enables the restaurants to serve more customers and generate additional revenue. Next, for price discrimination to be a viable strategy, a firm must also be able to prevent resale of the product or service. In some cases, preventing resale is easy. For example, airlines require that electronic tickets match the passenger's government-issued photo ID. This prevents a passenger who receives a discounted fare from reselling it to another passenger who would be willing to pay more. So the process worked well for airlines and enables them to charge more to groups of flyers with more inelastic demand. So the last bullet point on this slide is a note on this. Goods are tangible and often easier to resell than services. Well, for example, I cannot resell haircuts or trips to a buffet. I can, however, resell shirts, books, and furniture. This slide is to illustrate the benefits of price discrimination. We're using two airlines to illustrate this concept. Flat Earth Air charges the same price to every flyer, while Discriminating Flyers uses two different price structures for its customers. Assuming that marginal cost is constant at $100, the horizontal line. So the diagram on the left represents an airline called Flat Earth. Flat Earth charges the same price for every seat. Okay, so this means that the airline charges $300 and serves 100 customers when it sets its marginal revenue equals the marginal cost and set the price right there at $300. Since the marginal cost is $100, every passenger who gets on the plane creates $200 in additional profit. So the total profit represented by the green rectangle in the graph is, $200 per person multiplied by 100 seats, or the total profit of $20,000. So at 100 passengers, this airline has done everything it can to maximize profits at a single price. However, there are plenty of unsold seats in the plane that holds 150 passengers, so those unfilled seats represent a lost opportunity to earn additional revenue. Now let's take a look at the diagram on the right. It represents an airline called Discriminating Flyers. So discriminating flyers decides to experiment with two prices, $400 for midweek flights or last-minute bookings, and $200 for weekend flights and for customers who book in advance. The airline says 50 seats for the last-minute booking, and it cannot sell all the tickets at that high price. Notice that we do not draw a marginal revenue curve on the right. We don't have the simple marginal revenue curve derived from the demand function anymore when we price discriminate. So the overall effect of discrimination is more revenue for this airline. So let's take a look. Blue rectangle on the upper left, that's a gain since some people now pay higher price, $400 instead of $300. So the blue rectangle on the lower right, that's also a gain since now more people are buying tickets. That's additional 50 tickets are sold at the price of $200 compared to $300. Now the red rectangle by itself is a loss 50 people would have been willing to pay $300 instead of $200. So overall, the gains from discriminating in this very simple case are bigger than the losses. In reality, airlines often charge more than two prices, so this works well for airlines since tickets cannot be resold. Graph summary. Compare a single price firm to a price discriminating firm. With price discrimination, the most inelastic demand people pay a higher price. A lower price is also charged, which will attract more consumers with elastic demand into the market. The overall amount of sales increases and the overall welfare increases and the dead weight loss is decreased. So the welfare effects of price discrimination is really clear. On the producer side, we'll have a higher producer surplus, firms will make higher profit, and on the consumer side, benefit from more units being offered for sale and more trading occurs that will help consumers. So certain cases have higher overall consumer surplus. So the overall here is that the welfare increases and the dead weight loss decreases. So that is the last one for the price discrimination. Just to reiterate one more time that for the price discrimination, producers will not do the price discrimination if it doesn't really give them a profit. So yes, they do it going through, strategies and more work for them to do, right? To check whether each individual fits within the category of the group that get discount and things like that. So more work, more profit is good for the producers. On the consumer side, if it's only one price, then a lot of people who are not having that willingness to pay, then would drop out of the market. So basically, the quantity produced under monopoly with price discrimination is larger than the quantity produced under monopoly with a single price. So price discrimination, surprisingly, in so many people's mind, actually helped reduce the dead weight loss and improve the market efficiency.